So in this project, we had this project goal, this primary effect goal, that the survivors should receive better service and improved perceived comfort through complete and coherent information and communication. This was the primary goal that we were aiming at. We also had other effect goals like providing the service more effectively and so on. But this was the primary one, and it helped us keep focus on doing good for people in this situation. And this customer focus is something that we see all around us at the moment. We heard a lot about this during these days at the conference. And this Gartner study shows that 89% of companies expect to compete mostly on the basis of customer experience during this year. And those are great numbers. A lot of companies and organizations are focusing on the customer experience at the moment, trying to become customer-focused companies. You can see this in the vision and missions of different companies. Here are a few examples from Swedish and international companies. We saw this one from Amazon yesterday, having a razor-sharp focus on the user experience. So this is something that is really good. But even though a lot of companies are saying this and everybody is talking about it, customers are still getting very frustrated with the services delivered. There are other surveys showing that, for example, that 13% of customers are saying that brands do not put enough effort into providing seamless experiences across channels. That 89% of customers gets frustrated that they need to repeat their issues when meeting organizations in different touch points. So there's a lot of people talking about that they should be customer-focused. They had the ambition to be customer-focused and provide great customer experiences. But people are frustrated with the services provided. And why is this? What do you think? There's a lot of reasons for this, of course. But one of the reasons, in my opinion, is that customer focus is not just a state of mind. It's a way of working. It takes a lot of hard work in order to create great customer experiences. It's not something that is done through just saying, now we are a customer-focused company. Yes, we have done it. You need to do all the hard work. It's not a quick fix. You need to have a lot of stamina. You need to do a lot of changes in the culture of organization, changes in the processes, changes in the digital design delivered, and so on. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and it's a new way of working for organizations. So now I'm going to get back talking more about this project and how we solve this in this project. Yes, I should say first that this is something that is true for politics as well. We had this political ambition in this case that we wanted to provide better services around these life events. But just saying this will not be enough. We need to do all the hard work. So this is what I'm going to tell you about, how we did the hard work in this project. And I'm going to tell you it through telling you about 4 obstacles that we were facing during this project and how we solved them. So, the first obstacle I think you all are familiar with. Everybody who has heard about the silo effect, raise your hands. Yes, everybody has heard about it, so I won't have to explain it. But this time it was particularly hard because we had it times 3. We didn't only have the silos within the different authorities, we had the silos between the authorities that were supposed to work together in order to provide these services. So what we did to solve it was, one thing was that we had someone from outside of the authorities' organizations to moderate this process. I think it would be very hard for one of them to lead the process because there are political issues in between these authorities. So it's good to have someone from the outside moderating this process and trying to get them to take the outside-in perspective. Using this service design methodology was a very good way of doing it in this case. But having that said, it's good to hire someone. You can't let that someone go around acting like a creative agency. You can't give them the problem and let them spend 3 months in their office creating magical ideas. You need to realize that it's a work that has to be done together. We need to value the competence and all the knowledge that the authorities have in order to do this work together with them. So we need to work very closely together in order to reach success here. And also getting all the knowledge about the user is of course crucial to get them to work together. So we spend a lot of time getting to know people in this situation. First of all, we talk to customer service staff at the different authorities, getting to know what questions they were generally asked. Then we talk to different interest organizations, funeral parlors. But most of all, we went home to people who have gone through this, being survivors, went to their homes, sat down with them for a long time, talking about their experiences, hearing their stories, and getting to know them in depth, and what it's been like for them in contact with society, and what other organizations they've got help from, and so on. We visualize those findings in artifacts that you all are aware about, like personas, customer journeys, and so on. And we also identified a few major problem areas in which we thought that society needed to do better at. It could be that it was hard to find information, for example. Another problem was that society is too quiet in this situation. So problem areas like that. And we took those problem areas and we started to create solutions together. We met very frequently with the different authorities. We had this kind of co-creation workshop that you heard about before. And we worked together to generate these ideas on how to solve these problems. And what's important here is about co-creation is that sometimes I think it can be misunderstood. It's kind of becomes, within the service design community, it becomes a solution for everything. But you need to have the insights before you can really work with co-creation. So it's not, you can't do it without having the insights about the user, because then you still will have the inside-out perspective. So you need this outside perspective from the user insights in order to work really good co-creatively. So that's how we solved the silo effect in this project. So let me move on to the second obstacle that we were facing. And it was that this was named a project. And according to the methodology that they had at the pensions agency, we were supposed to define very early on detailed product goals on what to deliver from this project. Most project models work like that. You define very early on, you take the big decisions, and you should be very detailed of what you're going to deliver. Before you had the user insights. I mean, we couldn't accept that. We couldn't work like that in this project. So we couldn't follow this process that was wrong for this kind of initiative. It's not a bad process. It's good once you know what you have done to get things implemented. But it was not the right process to work with here. We wanted to create really new ideas and to work from the outside in and to use the user insights. So we need to convince the steering committee, stakeholders, and the project team that we need to work in a different way, according to a different process in this project. So one way of convincing them was to include a salesperson in the team. It's a good thing to have a person with the skills of selling, of convincing people that you should work according to a certain way, to convince people that these are really good insights, to convince people that the ideas we're working on are the best ones. So it's a very important skill to have as part of a project team. And it's something that I think the UX and design community sometimes undervalues. The skill of selling and convincing is very important in order to create a successful project and give the project team the mandate to work according to the way they want to. So that was an important thing of this project. A part of that is also to use simple language and models. In service design, in UX, we have our own language. Most of the people we're meeting in this project, in the steering committee and so on, they were not familiar with these terms. So we had to use a simpler language in order to get them on board and understanding what we were trying to do. So we used, for example, this very simple model. Instead of a fancy double diamond model, we used this one, talking about that the first step of the process was to find out what it's like to be a survivor, find out about their problems, and find ideas for how to solve them. That is the first step. In the second step, we choose which ideas to move on with. We choose based on what value they give to the survivors, what value they give to the organization, and how complex they are to implement. And in the third phase, we create these solutions through digital projects, through organizational changes, and so on. So by doing this, by having this salesperson on the team, using simple language, we managed to get everybody in the project on board this learning journey, because in a service design project, it's all about learning more and more about the user needs, about the domain that we're trying to fix, and so on. So we wanted everybody on board this learning journey, and it was an important thing to have them there. This is an example. We were running an ideation workshop together with the steering committee as well, to get them to really understand the user insights and be part of creating the solutions and feeling for the solutions themselves. So we actively involve them a lot during the process here. But still, when we have them on board, there will be situations during a project when there will arise sudden bursts of anxiety. People will get worried. The steering committee will get tough questions from other people around why isn't the product goals more clearly defined at this stage? And they will be worried at that time, and we will need to once again convince them, oh, be calm, we are on the right track, we're doing the right things here. Please bear with us, we will create magical solutions if you listen to us. So an important thing to use there is the power of storytelling, to keep repeating the stories from the survivors. We had very powerful stories that we could use with them, and also the personas and the customer journeys are powerful storytelling tools as well. We also created a movie that showed what it's like to be in this situation and how we were trying to make things better for the survivors. And that movie was shown across the different authorities, and people kind of got calm of that movie. Okay, that's what they are doing, let them continue.